The city glittered with lights, and the air smelled of expensive flowers. Inside the grand hall, chandeliers sparkled like stars, and soft music floated over a crowd dressed in silk and designer suits. This was no ordinary evening. Tonight, everyone had come to see the engagement of Aryan Kapoor, the young millionaire who everyone admired. Handsome, confident, and successful beyond his age, Aryan seemed to have everything: money, fame, and soon, a beautiful fiancée named Ria. Ria stood at the center of the hall, her smile flawless, her eyes shining with what everyone assumed was love. The crowd applauded as Aryan took her hand, looking at her with admiration. But not everyone was impressed. Near the back of the hall, hidden by a pillar, a girl watched quietly. She wore torn shoes, a faded dress, and her hair was messy from days without care. Her name was Mira. She was poor, yes, but there was something in her eyes, a determination that no wealth could shake. She had come to warn Aryan. She had no idea how to enter the hall properly, so she had slipped in unnoticed, hoping she could find a moment to speak to him before it was too late. As the crowd cheered for Aryan and Ria, Mira pushed forward, her heart pounding. Every step was a risk. What if the guards stopped her? What if no one believed her? But she had to try. She had seen Ria before, seen the lies she hid behind her charming smile, and she could not let Aryan make the biggest mistake of his life. Finally, she stood before Aryan. "Stop," she said, her voice trembling but firm. The music stopped. People turned to look, their smiles fading into confusion. "Stop, please. Don't marry her." A silence fell over the hall. The rich and powerful guests stared at the girl as if she had lost her mind. Ria's smile faltered for the first time, her perfectly painted lips quivering. "Who are you to tell him anything?" she demanded, her voice sharp, but the anger was hidden behind politeness. I am just someone who wants to save him," Mira replied, tears brimming in her eyes. "He doesn't know the truth about you." The crowd laughed, a cruel sound that echoed in the grand hall. "Look at her," a woman whispered. "She's just a poor girl, probably jealous." Aryan frowned, his confidence shaking for the first time that evening. He had always believed that money and respect could solve anything. But something in the girl's eyes made him pause. There was no greed, no hidden desire. She looked frightened, yes, but also honest. "Go home," Aryan said gently but firmly. "You don't belong here." Mira shook her head. "I can't go home. I can't stay silent. She is not who you think she is. She will hurt you, Aryan. Please, trust me." For a moment, the room went dead silent. The only sound was the soft clinking of glasses, and even Ria's breathing seemed louder than before. Guests whispered among themselves. Some rolled their eyes. Some frowned. But Aryan's heart raced. He had never seen anyone dare speak to him like this. Never. Not even his closest friends. Something about Mira made him pause, made him question the perfect image he had of Ria. "Why should I believe you?" he asked, trying to maintain his calm. "Because I have seen her," Mira said, her voice gaining strength. "I have seen what she really is when no one is watching. She doesn't love you. She wants your money. And she will betray you." Ria's face turned pale, but she quickly recovered, smiling sweetly at Aryan. "That is enough," she said, her voice sharp now, hiding the panic beneath. "Why would anyone believe a poor girl over me?" "Because," Mira said softly, stepping closer, "sometimes the truth comes from people you least expect. Please, listen to me. Before it's too late." For a long moment, Aryan didn't say anything. His mind raced. Could it be true? He had trusted Ria with all his heart. He had seen her kindness, her elegance, her charm. But now, doubt crept in. Doubt he had never felt before. The guests grew restless. Murmurs spread like wildfire. Some demanded the girl be removed. Some shook their heads, thinking Aryan foolish for even listening. But Aryan's eyes stayed on Mira. He saw fear, yes, but also courage, honesty, and desperation. Finally, he said, "Who are you really, and why do you care?" I am Mira, she whispered. I have nothing to gain. Nothing at all. But I cannot watch you make a mistake. I can't let you marry her, knowing what she will do. Ria's hands clenched. She realized that this girl could ruin everything she had planned. She moved closer to Arian, her smile cold now. Arian, please. Don't listen to her. She's lying. She wants attention. She wants to ruin this happy night. But Arian's eyes didn't move from Mira. There was something in the way she spoke, the way she looked at him, something that pierced through the luxury, the laughter, the lies. Mira took a deep breath. I know it's hard to believe me. I know you will doubt me. But one day, you will remember my words. And you will understand why I tried to save you tonight. The music started again, but the mood had changed. Arian looked at Ria, then at Mira, and finally turned away. He didn't know why, but he felt a strange unease. Something deep inside told him that Mira was speaking the truth. As the girl walked back toward the door, Arian's heart pounded. He knew this was only the beginning. The warning had been given. And somehow, he felt that this poor girl, so fragile, so determined, would change everything in his life. The audience in the hall returned to their chatter, laughing and clinking glasses, but Arian's thoughts were elsewhere. He couldn't shake the feeling that tonight, everything he knew might be a lie. And somewhere deep inside, he knew he had just met someone extraordinary. Someone who might just save him from heartbreak he didn't even see coming. The morning after the engagement, Arian woke up with a strange feeling in his chest. Mira's words echoed in his mind, haunting him like a shadow he couldn't shake. He tried to push them away, thinking perhaps it was just jealousy, or maybe the girl had misunderstood. But deep down, a small voice whispered that he should pay attention. Meanwhile, Ria prepared for the day with her usual elegance. She wore a bright smile, her hair perfectly curled, and her dress fitting like it was made for royalty. To everyone around her, she seemed perfect. Polite, kind, and devoted to Arian. Yet behind her sparkling eyes, a different story lurked, one no one could see. Ria picked up her phone as soon as she was alone. She spoke in hushed tones, her voice sharp and calculating. Yes, he's falling for it. Don't worry. Soon, it will all be perfect. She smiled to herself, thinking no one could hear. But Arian didn't know this side of her existed. Arian spent the day meeting friends and business partners, but his mind kept drifting back to Mira's warning. Could it really be true? Could Ria, his fiancée, the woman he trusted most, be pretending to love him? He shook his head. No, she couldn't, he murmured. But even as he said it, doubt crept in. That evening, Arian decided to meet Ria privately. He wanted to see if there was any sign of deceit, any hint that the girl's warning might be real. Ria greeted him with her usual warmth, but her eyes betrayed nothing. She laughed softly at his jokes and brushed his hand lightly. Arian felt conflicted, everything seemed normal, yet his heart could not ignore the uneasy feeling. Later, Arian's assistant noticed something strange. Sir, she said quietly, Ria has been making secret calls during your engagement preparations. She steps outside every time someone calls her. I think you should know. Arian's stomach sank. He wanted to trust Ria, but now the warning from Mira seemed less like paranoia and more like a possibility. That night, he stayed awake, thinking about every small detail he had seen, every word spoken, every smile. Something didn't fit. Meanwhile, Mira was far away, watching from a distance. She had seen Ria meet a man in a small cafe, hidden from view. The way they talked, the way Ria laughed, it was not the laughter of someone in love with Arian. It was secretive, deliberate, and dangerous. Mira knew that if Arian didn't act soon, he would be trapped in a web of lies. The next day, Arian tried to find out more without alerting Ria. He asked friends casually, observed her behavior, and watched the small details, the way she avoided certain topics, the way she smiled at some messages she received on her phone. Every detail added to the uneasy feeling that Mira had hinted at. Ria, on the other hand, grew impatient. She noticed Arian's distance and subtle doubts. She could feel him starting to question her loyalty. That worried her. I need to handle this, she whispered to herself, her eyes narrowing. If he discovers the truth, everything is over. He can't know what I've done. Arian decided he needed proof, something undeniable. But he didn't know where to start. That night, he remembered Mira. The poor girl had spoken with such certainty, such courage, despite having nothing to gain. Arian realized that Mira might be the only person who could help him see the truth clearly. Meanwhile, Mira worked tirelessly, gathering information from her side. She took risks every day, watching Ria's movements, listening to her conversations, and even talking discreetly to some people Ria trusted. The more she uncovered, the more dangerous it seemed. She knew the warning was not just about betrayal, it was about protection, survival, and heartbreak. As days passed, Arian could no longer ignore the tension building in his life. He felt trapped between two worlds, one of luxury, love, and trust, and the other of uncertainty, caution, and fear. He wanted to believe in Ria, but Mira's warning gnawed at him like a silent alarm. One evening, as Arian returned from work, he saw Ria waiting in the grand hallway, dressed in a beautiful gown. She smiled warmly, her charm radiating. I missed you today, she said softly, stepping closer. Arian looked into her eyes and felt a mixture of longing and doubt. Ria, he said slowly, I need to ask something. Have you ever lied to me? Ria's smile didn't falter. No, she whispered, never. Why would you ask such a thing? Arian didn't answer. Instead, he looked away, remembering Mira's words. He couldn't shake the feeling that the truth was hidden somewhere, just out of reach. And somewhere, deep inside, he knew that soon, the secrets would come to light. Meanwhile, Mira watched silently from a distance, knowing that the time was approaching. She had warned him, fought for him, and now, all she could do was wait. Wait for Arian to see the signs, to notice the cracks in Ria's perfect facade, and to finally understand that her warning was not just words, it was truth. That night, as the city slept under the soft glow of the streetlights, Arian lay in his luxurious room, thinking. The mansion was quiet, but his mind was full of questions. Could he trust Ria? Was he already too late? And where was Mira now, the poor girl who had dared to challenge his world? The suspense hung in the air like a heavy fog. Arian didn't know it yet, but the real test of his heart, trust, and courage was just beginning. And soon, the truth about his fiancée Ria would shatter the world he thought he knew. The days after the engagement passed slowly for Arian. He tried to focus on his work, on meetings and deals, but Mira's warning followed him like a shadow he could not escape. Every time he saw Ria laughing or receiving a call in secret, a small doubt grew stronger in his mind. He wanted to trust her, but something deep inside whispered that Mira's words were true. Meanwhile, Mira returned to her small, broken-down home in a crowded part of the city. Her younger brother, Arif, was waiting for her with homework and a bowl of rice. Life was hard for them. They had little money, their clothes were old, and their house leaked whenever it rained. But Mira carried a strength inside her that no hardship could crush. She worked day and night cleaning houses, delivering packages, doing anything she could to support Arif. Even in this struggle, she did not forget Arian. She could not. She had seen the danger he was walking into. Ria, the woman everyone admired for her beauty and charm, was hiding something dangerous behind her perfect smile. And Mira knew that if Arian didn't realize it soon, he could lose everything, his heart, his trust, and his happiness. The next morning, Mira started following Ria discreetly. She moved through the city's crowded streets, keeping herself hidden in shadows, always careful not to be seen. Ria went to a small cafe, meeting a man who was clearly not Arian. They whispered, laughed quietly, and exchanged papers. Mira's heart raced. This was proof, but how could she show it to Arian without putting herself in danger? She tried talking to a few of Ria's friends, people who might be able to help. But every attempt failed. Some didn't believe her, thinking she was jealous. Others warned her to stay away, saying she had no right to interfere in the life of a rich man. Mira felt frustration and fear, but she also felt determination. She could not give up. Arian's life, his future, depended on her courage. One evening, while returning from her small job, Mira sat on the steps outside her home, thinking. She looked at Arav sleeping peacefully inside and felt a pang of sadness. Why is it always me? She whispered to herself. Why do I have to fight alone? But she knew the answer. She had the heart to care, and sometimes, that was the only thing that mattered. The next day, she gathered her courage and decided to get closer to Arian. She waited near his office, hiding behind a pillar as he left. When she saw him walking alone, she called out, Arian. He turned, surprised to see her. Mira? What are you doing here? I have to tell you the truth, she said urgently. Ria, she is not who she seems. She is lying to you, and I have proof. You need to see it before it's too late. Arian's mind raced. He wanted to listen, but he also wanted to deny it. Mira. I don't know if I can believe you, he said, his voice low. What if you're wrong? I'm not wrong, Mira replied, her voice trembling with emotion. I have seen her, Arian. I have watched her secretly. She is planning something you will regret if you trust her blindly. Please, just trust me, even for a moment. Arian looked at her face, the honesty in her eyes, the desperation, the courage. He felt something stirred deep inside him, something he hadn't felt for a long time, doubt, mixed with hope that someone could protect him from betrayal. Meanwhile, Ria was preparing for another meeting with her secret lover. She believed Arian was completely blind to her actions. She smiled to herself, confident that no one could interfere. But she did not know that Mira was working tirelessly, collecting pieces of the puzzle, risking her safety every single day. That night, Mira sat at her small table, sorting through what she had discovered. There were photographs, small notes, and even a short recording she had managed to capture on her phone. Her hands shook with exhaustion and fear. If she showed Arian too soon, Ria might destroy the evidence. If she waited, he might fall too deep into Ria's trap. Arif peeked into the room, noticing his sister's tired eyes. Mira, are you okay? He asked softly. I'm fine, Arif, she said, forcing a smile. But I have to be careful. Someone I care about, someone important, might be in danger. Arif nodded, not fully understanding, but trusting his sister's strength. Mira returned to her work, determined that no matter what happened, she would save Arian from heartbreak. She did not know how it would end, or if he would even believe her. But she knew one thing clearly, she could not stay silent. In Arian's mansion, he lay awake again that night. He thought about Ria, her perfect smile, and the strange unease that had been growing inside him. He also thought about Mira, the poor girl who had dared to challenge his world. Something about her honesty and courage stayed with him. For the first time, he felt that maybe, just maybe, he needed to listen to someone who had nothing to gain but the truth to tell. And somewhere in the city, Mira looked up at the stars, whispering softly, I will save him, no matter what. The suspense hung in the air like a storm ready to break. Secrets were about to be revealed, trust was about to be tested, and Arian's world was slowly unraveling. The days passed, but the tension in Arian's life grew stronger. Every small action of Ria began to feel strange to him. Sometimes, he caught her glancing at her phone, smiling secretly. Sometimes, he noticed little lies in her words. And yet, he still wanted to believe her. He wanted to trust the woman he had chosen to spend his life with. Meanwhile, Mira was working tirelessly. She had gathered enough clues to show that Ria was not who she seemed. Photos of secret meetings, voice messages of suspicious conversations, and little notes that revealed her hidden plans, all pieces of a puzzle that Arian didn't know he needed. One afternoon, Arian returned home early from a meeting, hoping to surprise Ria. But what he saw made his heart skip a beat. Ria was speaking with a man he didn't know, in whispers, with smiles that hid secrets. She looked around nervously, ensuring no one could see them. Arian's chest tightened. Could this be what Mira had warned him about? That evening, Arian finally confronted Ria gently. Ria, can we talk? He asked, trying to remain calm. Ria's smile didn't falter. Of course, Arian. What is it? I need to know the truth, he said slowly. You've been acting strange. I just want honesty. Ria's eyes flickered with a small hint of annoyance, quickly replaced by her usual charm. Arian, I don't know what you're talking about. I love you. I have always loved you. Why would you doubt me? Arian felt a mix of confusion and fear. He wanted to trust her, but he also remembered Mira's words, her warning, and the strange feeling that had been growing inside him. Meanwhile, Mira decided she had to act. She could not let Arian fall deeper into Ria's trap. She contacted him discreetly and arranged a meeting at a quiet cafe. Arian agreed, curious but hesitant. As Arian entered, he saw Mira sitting at a corner table, holding a small envelope. Her face was serious but determined. I've gathered proof, she said quietly. Photos, messages, everything you need to see who she really is. Arian took the envelope, hands trembling. He looked at Mira, seeing her courage and honesty. He opened it carefully, and his heart sank as he read and saw the evidence. The secret meetings, the lies, the manipulation, it was all there. But before he could process fully, Ria appeared at the cafe. Her eyes narrowed as she saw Mira and Arian together. What is going on here? She asked, her voice deceptively calm. Arian felt anger and betrayal mixed together. Ria, what is all this? He demanded, holding up the proof. Ria's smile vanished, replaced by a cold glare. You, how dare you accuse me, she hissed. This is ridiculous. He wouldn't listen to a poor girl like you, she spat at Mira. Mira stood her ground, her voice steady. I warned him, Ria. I tried to save him. And now, the truth is in his hands. He can see it for himself. Arian's mind raced as he looked at Ria, then back at Mira. He felt heartbreak and shock, but also a deep sense of gratitude toward the girl who had risked everything to protect him. Ria, realizing that her secrets were exposed, tried to manipulate him further. Arian, don't believe her. She's just jealous. She wants attention. She's poor, what does she even know about life? Arian shook his head slowly. For the first time, he saw Ria for who she really was. The charm, the smiles, the perfection, it was all a mask. The woman he had admired was not the woman he had known. Mira's voice cut through his confusion. Arian, I never wanted anything from you. I only wanted to protect you. Please, don't let her lies hurt you anymore. Arian felt tears prick his eyes. He realized that the poor girl who had dared to speak in front of the crowd at his engagement had been right all along. She had seen the truth when no one else could. She had saved him from a betrayal he hadn't even imagined. The cafe grew silent around them, the tension thick in the air. Arian knew that the coming days would not be easy. Ria would not give up without a fight. But for now, he felt a strange sense of clarity. The warning had become reality. The lies were exposed. And the truth was finally coming to light. As Arian walked away from the cafe, he looked back at Mira. She nodded slightly, a small, tired smile on her face. She had done what she could. She had fought to protect him. And now, it was up to him to take the next step, to decide what his life would become, and who he would truly trust. The suspense had only grown stronger. Arian's trust had been broken, Ria's mask had fallen, and the poor girl's courage had changed everything. The story was far from over, but the path ahead was clear, the truth had begun to shine, and no one could hide from it any longer. The wedding day arrived, and the grand hall sparkled brighter than ever. Flowers filled every corner, music floated in the air, and guests arrived in their finest attire. Everyone believed this day would be perfect, a celebration of love, wealth, and happiness. Arian, however, felt uneasy. Memories of Mira's warning and the proof she had shown him haunted his thoughts. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to happen. Ria walked down the aisle with her usual charm, her smile radiant, her eyes sparkling. Guests whispered about how beautiful and perfect she looked. But Arian saw through the mask now. He noticed the small gestures, the fake glances, and the hidden arrogance in her movements. He clenched his fists subtly, determined not to let the past mistakes repeat themselves. The ceremony began, and everyone held their breath, expecting the vows to be exchanged. But before Arian could even start, a man appeared at the edge of the hall. He was dressed formally, but his presence sent a chill through the room. Everyone looked at him in surprise. "This is him," Ria whispered under her breath, panic rising in her voice. The man approached confidently, and the guests started murmuring. "Who is he?" people asked. The man raised his hand, holding a small phone with a video playing. "Everyone, watch this," he said. The video showed Ria meeting him in secret, laughing, whispering, and exchanging documents. The guests gasped in shock. The facade of the perfect fiancé shattered in an instant. Ria froze. Her beautiful smile disappeared, replaced by anger and fear. "Stop it," she shouted, but it was too late. The truth had come out in front of everyone. Arian felt a mix of anger, betrayal, and relief. He looked at Mira in the crowd, who had arrived quietly to witness the truth unfold. Her eyes met his, calm and determined. She had warned him. She had tried to protect him. And now, justice had arrived, not through force, but through truth. Guests whispered, some in disbelief, others in sympathy for Arian. "She was just after his money," one woman said softly. "I knew something was wrong." Ria tried to explain, to twist the story, but no one believed her. The proof was undeniable. Her lies, her deceit, and her betrayal were exposed for all to see. She realized that her carefully planned facade had crumbled completely. Arian, though heartbroken, felt a strange sense of clarity. He had been warned, he had seen the proof, and he now understood the depth of Ria's betrayal. He turned to the crowd and said calmly but firmly, "This wedding cannot happen. The truth has come out. She is not the person I thought she was." Mira stepped forward quietly, and Arian finally walked over to her. "You saved me," he whispered, his voice filled with gratitude. "I didn't believe it at first, but now I see. You were right." Mira shook her head slightly, a tired smile on her face. "I only wanted to protect you," she said softly. "I didn't do it for anything else." Arian felt a wave of emotions, relief, anger, sadness, and gratitude all mixed together. He realized that sometimes, the people who seem the weakest, the poorest, or the most ordinary are the ones with the courage to do extraordinary things. Ria was escorted out quietly, humiliated, while Arian stood with Mira. The guests whispered among themselves, some admiring the courage of the poor girl, others in shock at the events that had unfolded. Arian finally spoke, addressing Mira and the crowd. "Sometimes the truth comes from the least expected person," he said. "And sometimes, it can save a life." Mira nodded, feeling exhausted but proud. She had faced fear, danger, and disbelief, but in the end, she had done what she set out to do. Arian's life had been saved from heartbreak, and he had finally seen the truth, thanks to her courage and determination. As the crowd began to leave, Arian turned to Mira once again. "Thank you," he said simply. "I owe you more than I can ever explain. I will make sure your courage and honesty are never forgotten." Mira smiled, feeling a sense of relief wash over her. She had fought for what was right, and now the truth had triumphed. The journey had been hard, dangerous, and emotional, but it had been worth it. The day ended with lessons learned, hearts changed, and lives altered forever. Arian had been saved from betrayal, Ria's lies were exposed, and Mira had proven that courage and honesty could overcome even the most powerful obstacles. After the chaos of the wedding day, Arian felt a strange emptiness. The betrayal of Ria had shaken him, but it had also opened his eyes. He realized that in the midst of wealth, luxury, and admiration, he had almost lost sight of what truly mattered: honesty, courage, and genuine care. His thoughts turned to Mira, the poor girl who had dared to warn him, who had risked everything to protect him. He remembered her words, her courage, and her determination. He could not stop thinking about her, wondering how he could ever repay the debt of gratitude he owed her. That evening, Arian went to find her. He walked through the crowded streets, asking quietly for directions until he reached her small, humble home. The sight of the worn-down house, the small courtyard, and the tired furniture made his heart ache. He realized how different their lives were, yet how much bravery and strength she carried in her simple frame. Mira opened the door, surprised and cautious. "Arian, what are you doing here?" she asked softly, unsure of his intentions. I came to thank you, he said honestly. You saved me from heartbreak, lies, and betrayal. I don't know how to repay you, but I want to help. You and Arif deserve a better life. Mira shook her head. I don't need help, she whispered. I only did what I had to do. I couldn't let you be hurt. Arian smiled gently. No, Mira. You risked everything for me. Let me do something for you. Please. Over the next few days, Arian helped Mira and her brother in small but meaningful ways. He arranged for a better home for them, ensured Arif could go to a good school, and even provided support for Mira's work so she could rest and focus on her dreams. The difference in their lives was immediate and profound. But more than material help, Arian offered something deeper: respect and recognition. He never treated Mira as someone inferior, as people had often done because of her poverty. Instead, he treated her as the brave, honest, and extraordinary person she was. Mira felt a mixture of relief, gratitude, and humility. She had never expected anything in return. She had only wanted to protect someone from a life-altering mistake. And now, she realized that courage and honesty could change lives, not only Arian's, but her own as well. Arian and Mira spent hours talking about their lives, their dreams, and the future. He listened to her struggles, her hopes, and the sacrifices she had made for her brother. He admired her strength and resilience, realizing that wealth alone could never measure true courage. Slowly, a bond formed between them, not just of gratitude, but of mutual respect and trust. Arian knew that without Mira, he might have suffered heartbreak and loss. And Mira realized that courage, even from someone with nothing, could change the course of someone's life completely. As weeks turned into months, Arian and Mira's friendship grew stronger. People in the city began to talk about the millionaire and the poor girl whose honesty had saved him. They admired their story, a tale of truth, courage, and the triumph of honesty over deceit. One evening, Arian took Mira and Arif to the new home he had arranged for them. As they stood in the spacious, sunlit rooms, Mira felt a warm sense of security she had never known. Thank you, Arian, she said softly, her eyes glistening. Arian smiled. No, Mira. Thank you. You taught me something priceless, that sometimes, the truth comes from the least expected person, and that honesty and courage can overcome any obstacle. Arif ran around the house, laughing freely, no longer worried about the struggles of the past. Mira watched him, a gentle smile on her face. For the first time, she felt a sense of peace and hope for the future. The story ended not with wealth or luxury, but with gratitude, courage, and a new beginning. Arian had been saved from deceit. Mira had proven the power of honesty. And together, they had discovered a truth that no riches could replace: the value of courage, trust, and human kindness. As the sun set, casting golden light over the new home, Arian, Mira, and Arif stood together, a family not by blood, but by heart. And in that moment, they knew that the struggles of the past had led them to a future filled with hope, honesty, and the promise of better days.